This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time's begun. I may sail on many a sea, her shores will always be home to me. I see women on bended knees, cutting cane for the families. I see the men at the waterside, casting nets.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the SamuelFields Consulting Financial Webinar. It is a delight to have so many of you join us today to discuss a very exciting topic, which is get ready for the future of money, DCash versus the mighty dollar. We have a packed agenda here today, so much to discuss. And of course, this is part of our financial outreach educational initiatives program at SamuelFields Consulting Group. I am Doreed Whitlock. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for SamuelFields Consulting Group, known as SFCG. And we have assembled a very distinguished panel of experts today to discuss a new phenomenon, a new paradigm in banking and financial issues, DCash. Could the Caribbean actually become a cashless economy? We will discuss that issue and the dynamics around this very exciting program here today. And so let me get straight into it. I'll tell you a bit about SFCG. We are a multi-service consortium of experts who focus on helping individuals, business owners, managers, and professional organizations to succeed in an ever-changing environment. So today we have our team members joining me as well. We have Lisa Francis. She's one of our online moderators. She's our Chief Operations Officer. We also have Sashanto, our IT manager, who is on the line as well. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you our panelists. First, we have Kiran St. Omer. She is from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Kiran, welcome. We also have Samantha Anthony Gore, who is from ECAB, the Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank. Welcome, Samantha. We also have the only gentleman on the panel today, so he is definitely among the roses today. We have Omari Frederick, and he is with the St. Lucia, the Bank of St. Lucia Limited. And then, of course, we have Megan SamuelFields, who is the CEO of SamuelFields Consulting Group. We want to say hearty welcome to all of our panelists. As I mentioned, we have so much to talk about today. There's so many knowledge gaps. There's so much to learn about DCash that we want to get straight into it. But before we do that, we like to, if you did our last panel, we like to do some polls. It's good to know our audience. It's a way to warm you up. This is a very serious topic, but we always try to bring a bit of humor to what we do. So before we get started fully into the discussion, I'd like you to take a quick poll. It won't take more than a minute, and the poll should come up on the screen momentarily. And here is the poll. How would you describe the strength of your passwords? By the way, today is World Password Day. May 6th is World Password Day. And of course, as we're moving towards digital currency, the need to have very secure environments with passwords that protect you becomes all that much more important. So how would you describe the strength of your passwords today? Is it like an elephant? I'll always remember it because, you know, elephants never forget. Is your password like a lion? Is it strong? Is it robust? Is it like a mouse? Is it weak? Is it small? Is it too short? And of course, lastly, is it a jumbi? Meaning, as we say in Antigua and the rest of the Caribbean, it's non-existent. So please take a minute and tell us what your current password looks like today on World Password Day. Is it an elephant? Is it a lion? Is it a mouse? Or is it simply a jumbie? You don't have a password. I'll give you a few moments to complete the poll before we come back to our first panelist in our discussion this evening. Okay, wow, we're on the right track. No jumbies here, so no one needs to get scared. We have mostly lions. We have 73% of our participants are saying that they have strong passwords. We have some elephants who have a password that they'll never forget. A few mice, actually only one person, that's 2%. So it looks like we are ready for the digital era, and that's a good thing. We will all need very, very robust passwords. So jumping straight into our discussion again, I'd like to invite Ms. Qiran St. Omer. She is the Senior Projects Officer, Financial Institutions Coordinator of the FinTech Working Group at the East Caribbean Central Bank. And she will present to us what is going on with DCash. So sit back, get your questions together. I should have mentioned that, but we flashed it on the screen. We will hold all questions until the end when all of our participants have made their presentations. So begin to record your questions, and you can begin to drop them in the chat as well so that we can keep the process going. Qiran, take it away. Tell us about DCash.
Thank you, Dereed, and welcome viewers. This is the Financial Wellness webinar that the ECCB is very excited to have the opportunity to present on our digital currency pilot. The ECCB embarked upon this pilot to solve many problems that are currently being faced by users in the financial system. And today we look forward to the opportunity to discuss that. And before we go into that, I would like to give a brief overview of what is DCash. And as we move on, I'd like to take you to this picture, which definitely speaks to how the ECCB intends to transform the lives of the citizens of the ECCU. Your everyday transactions, your everyday interactions with persons. Payment forms a huge part of that. To buy breakfast, to buy a newspaper. Well, we do a lot of digital reading right now, but it's still valid and it's still very pertinent to your everyday lives. And making that payment without having to pay exorbitant fees, ensuring that it is seamless, that that person, the next party to that transaction receives payment on time. These are some of the issues that we hear persons constantly experiencing. And even in terms of safety and security, we will go a little deeper into those aspects as I take you through the overview of the digital currency pilot project that the ECCB is now piloting and which was publicly launched on the 31st of March. We are now in the second month of rollout, and it has been a very rewarding and tremendous experience. We do have our bankers on here today from St. Lucia and Antigua who will elaborate on those aspects. So for now, when we do look at DCash, what is DCash? A plain and simple definition. DCash is a safer, cheaper, faster way to make EC dollar payments and transfers. And when you think of making payments, a while ago, I did give a brief overview of some of the everyday transactions that we encounter. Transfers, many of our citizens do not have access, readily available and sustainable access. And when we say sustainable access, we mean the one that is at least cost effective. And the DCash payment system that the ECCB is piloting provides an enhanced option to help improve persons' ability to undertake transactions. How are we facilitating that, and how did the ECCB achieve such a fit? We are the first of a currency union, the first currency union in the world with a multi-island states. We have 8 islands that we operating, and right now, as of the 31st of March at the public launch, DCash was made publicly available to citizens of 4 of our member states, that being Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis, where I am currently based. We're using the blockchain technology. Many persons have heard a lot about blockchain, and blockchain has enabled the ECCB to build this digital currency system, which is just a digital version of your EC dollar that you spend every day. How and what is DCash? How did we create DCash? Some of the key features that all consumers need to pay attention to is that you will be using your everyday devices. We have palm-held devices every day, and ECCB is using and leveraging blockchain to create this secure payment platform that we call DCash. And blockchain, as you would have heard, it has many uses. And in payment systems, some of the efficiencies it brings is faster, cheaper, and safer. We will take a closer look at that in a few moments. Peer-to-peer transactions, meaning person to person. You could transmit money or transfer funds to your friends and family directly without needing an intermediary, be it a bank or credit union. And payment is instantaneous. So imagine shopping every day. You're able to pay the merchants, your supermarkets, the grocer, this person, I go to my market every Saturday. So just via a tap and scanning my phone, I am able to pay my provider or supplier of my goods and services. And the ability to do this without the fear of losing access to your funds permanently. Imagine losing your wallet, and that is your physical wallet. What DCash provides is, being on a blockchain system, it facilitates recoverability and access to funds. So if you were to lose your phone or your password, that can be reinstalled very quickly. The privacy of transactions, there's a lot on cybersecurity and crime. And with the DCash system and ECC being a central bank, security and privacy are very high on our agenda. We've been the primary governing authority for the issuance, minting, and distribution of the physical EC dollar for many decades. And bringing on a digital version means that we had to ensure we had a very safe, secure minting platform and issuance platform for the DCash. We are currently leveraging our banking infrastructure, meaning that we are taking advantage of the institutions that are already there in the financial system, that is your banks and your credit unions. We've brought in new providers, that is authorized agents that must meet certain requirements of the ECCB. When we speak of privacy, persons think of their data. Where is my data being stored? Who has access to that data? ECC currently secures its data, which is very important, and we've extended our security measures and will be undertaking routine security and data audits to ensure that the system is not penetrable. One of the key features of blockchain is that it is irreversible, meaning that there's an audit trail. So your data remains and it is permanent. And in terms of accessible, ECCB has chosen a blockchain platform that is not open to the public. It is permission-based, which speaks to our privacy. And only authorized persons, meaning if your customer wants to be a part of the pilot, you need to meet certain requirements to be admitted into the pilot. All pilot stakeholders, all persons who will be participating and using DCash will be permitted access after meeting certain requirements. And that is similar to what pertains in the current financial system. One key thing I should mention in terms of privacy is that data is encrypted. So there is no way persons will be able to have access, open access. The only persons who currently have access to your personal data, for instance, right now, when you're doing your transactions, is you and your bank. Third parties do not have open access to that data, and ECCB has undertaken the necessary measures to ensure that privacy and security of data is maintained throughout. Near instantaneous settlement, I did speak of that. Within seconds, you're able to see that you've paid. Your merchant or your sister, brother would be able to see. They don't have to wait a day or two or even a week before they can receive those funds. So it speeds up the way we transact and how we transact. Real-time transaction history, we will definitely share a bit about that because this is a huge benefit to customers having direct access to their financial records and history so that it's at their fingertips in terms of budgeting, management. This is a platform we're hoping to leverage to build all necessary features to ensure consumers are financially capable and independent when managing their finances. How can you access DCash? The key question here is that you need a digital wallet. We're speaking about a digital version of the EC currency. Persons do have their physical wallet. So how do you get a digital wallet? Earlier on, we did mention using your smart devices. So this is simply acquired, and we will take you to the next steps in terms of approaching your bank or credit union. And I know for sure several of our banks and our bankers on here have been issuing invitation codes to customers, that is the existing customers, to participate in the pilot. If you have not received the code, feel free to contact your bank as well. If you choose not to use a bank to establish your digital currency wallet, there are authorized agents in every participating territory. Before we go into how do you actually download and make a payment, we'll just take a brief look at what are the types of wallets that you could choose. The wallets that ECCB provides via the financial institutions are set by limits. First, we have authorized agents, where you choose not to use your bank account to fund your DCash wallet. That is to and from, where you could withdraw funds or credit your DCash wallet by using existing account balances. These are lower tier accounts with lower transaction limits, and what you require is one form of ID to actually establish the value-based wallet. Here, the minimum is 1,000 EC or the maximum 2,700 EC dollars. When it comes to establishing it via a financial institution, you would have already met, or you would have to update and satisfy the KYC AML requirements. And the limits here are a lot larger. We start at a minimum of 25,000, and that increases in terms of your wallet limit, which you can see on the screen. You have daily transaction limits with those limits. So it caters to both the consumer and the merchant. In accessing and determining your limits, you would work with an authorized agent or your financial institution to help set that limit. Payments are certainly made easier. We spoke of instantaneous settlement. You could access DCash by downloading it like you download many apps via the app stores, be it Android or Apple. Once you've registered with your financial institutions or an approved agent service provider, you can gain access to DCash. It's that easy. And you would, I mentioned earlier, an invitation code that applies to only financial institutions. So once you've downloaded the app, you click immediately and where your preference in terms of whether it's a financial institution or an agent, and it will take you through the steps. You could choose to convert funds from your existing balances or use physical cash and coins to facilitate a credit to your DCash wallet. And that conversion can happen to and from your wallet without the incurrence of any fees. And I must underscore this huge benefit. There are no fees associated with DCash. It is cash-like, similar to your dollar. You would get $1 of DCash, no lesser value. So in terms of accessing, that takes you through the 3 steps just to access. And making a payment is a simple scanning your payment or your QR code or your phone to pay for your goods and services. And this would basically show you how much easier it would be to make contactless payments, which we encourage, especially during current times that we live in. How can DCash be used? I will repeat: to pay for your everyday goods and services, to transfer funds to friends and family, where we say P2P or person to person. So to friends and family, your cousin, your friends down the road, the sole trader, mom and pop shops, a lot of persons have taken on cooking and providing those services from their home. This makes it easier to transact and expands the customer base for those new entrepreneurs that we're now seeing, which were brought about especially due to the impact of COVID in terms of job loss and the changes in the economy. So this form of payment is seamless and it's available and it's free, and we encourage all persons to take advantage. And as you could see, we've already mentioned business to business. Businesses can pay for their goods and services from their suppliers by using the DCash. Some of the benefits of DCash, which you by now should be well versed on, would be it is faster. I must underscore, it is faster, instantaneous. The launch video for DCash is available on the website, which shows how one payment was able to be transmitted across the 4 islands within seconds and minutes. It is safer. When we speak of security, in terms of being robbed. So if somebody stole your bag, you lost your bag, your phone is in there, your wallet is in there, be sure your DCash funds can be reinstated. That we can assure you of by simply contacting the financial institution, the ECCB, or your agent to have that restored. And your financial institution and agents will definitely guide you through that process. Cheaper, meaning for the duration of the pilot, there are no costs attached to using DCash. We've already called out the key benefit that contactless payment methods offer during this time. We know persons are used to using their credit cards and debit cards. A DCash also brings this enhanced benefit of it being cheaper, safer. So why not make use of it? Improve financial management. Here, during our discussion later on, we will be speaking a lot on how this can help improve your financial management. Knowing where every cent or dollar or setting an alert for a particular spend amount can help you monitor your transactions. You may not need to request a copy of your statement and get that once a month or wait for it in the mail. A lot of us still do that. Imagine that during this COVID period. But now persons spend most of their time on their phones. So at a click of a button, you're able to access that. And certainly having that readily available access can help. I look forward to the discussion coming on so we could definitely touch on how you could improve your financial management. Financial inclusion. This is a very important imperative objective for the ECCB, where we have lots of persons who are underserved, who do not have access to financial services. It may not be direct access, and it could be the cost, could be a deterring factor. So with DCash, via that payment option for transfers, does facilitate and improve on financial inclusion. And what I love to see, financial exclusion is decreased or minimized. Now, DCash promises, ECCB has every intention to commercialize DCash, and we are running the pilot and we've extended it for 12 months, and we're extending it throughout the 8 islands. We're now working with St. Vincent. Given the volcanic eruption, we're hoping to bring this new payment option about to facilitate the transfer of funds. Imagine relatives who are across over in St. Lucia who may have had to relocate, and being able to access their financial services. Used to depend on going to the bank and forming a line, had not signed up for mobile banking, did not have time to do that. Yes, internet access is widely available, but how many of us really do take advantage of it? This DCash will help drive and leapfrog the digitization of our economy. And this takes me to why DCash? Why is ECCB pursuing this? Why did ECCB embark on it? At a time when the underlying technology, very little was known of blockchain. A lot was being touted about that blockchain and Bitcoin, its cryptocurrency, and the dangers of it. ECCB went fully ahead by doing lots of research, lots of stakeholder engagements. My friends at Bank of St. Lucia and ECAP can certainly tell you, the last 2 years during our development phase was incorporated very close collaboration. And this enabled us, along with our incumbent financial institutions, being the banks, to develop that innovative payment system. And with that, understanding blockchain and its benefits, being able to design a payment system that we could test and deploy, meant that we had to understand and leverage the existing legislation and regulatory environment. We did not seek to implement any waivers to the regulatory requirements. As you will see, when you do interact with your financial institutions, you do have to meet your KYC, AML, the normal account opening requirements. You will have to satisfy those. But being an existing customer expedites you accessing that new product. And the system was designed for financial institutions to serve the existing clients during the pilot phase. So in terms of payment system efficiency, cross-border transaction is something that definitely needs to be highlighted here. We note just ensuring and executing our key role in terms of the distribution of physical notes and coins throughout the ECCU member states. It comes at a significant cost. So now imagine banks could fund another branch at a click of a button without having to physically transmit cash. Here we speak of security concerns, yes, security teams, having security systems, vehicles, transporting that money. All of these operating costs are reduced. And what takes me to the next point in terms of reducing the use of cash. DCash will coexist and complement the use of physical cash. It is not here to replace physical cash. There will always be a need for the use of cash. ECCB, in undertaking its diagnostic study on risk of the financial system, we note that more than 70%, 70 to 90% of our persons still use checks and cash to conduct transactions. This comes at a cost. When you think of the green economy, when you think of transporting and the operating costs, not just to ECCB, but also to financial institutions, we have the vision of reducing the use of cash within the next 5 years by 50%. DCash is only now being piloted. Based on the uptake and the interest of our citizens, we're hoping that this will help towards that vision. There are several ways in terms of helping to reduce physical use of cash. DCash is not here to replace physical cash. There will always be a need for it. We're here to provide an alternative enhanced option, a way of doing business. And this is very important when we think of digital marketplaces, innovation, competitiveness, doing business. And I did speak earlier on a mom and pop shop, hairdressers, barbershops, bus drivers. We hear them being robbed all the time, facing that danger every day when they leave home to earn a dollar or to make a living. Having DCash, your funds are digitally safe and stored. You could use it and access it at any point in time at zero cost. This is a huge benefit. But I must say, our those merchants who have joined and onboarded are very excited to the zero cost attached to DCash. So citizens, certainly we encourage you to take advantage of it and ensure that you're able to see the benefits and get the feel of the DCash in your hands as you transact. We're moving into a system, a business environment which uses e-services. So digital enablement is a high priority, strategic priority for the ECCB. We're undertaking several complementary projects like the digital transformation projects within the ECCU on a regional scale with our regional partners, and the digital payment system is being upgraded as well. And DCash is a payment option that is now available via the pilot that we recently launched in the 4 pilot countries and is now being extended to the remaining 4. And that we intend to have completed by September 2021. So with that in mind, I'd like to encourage persons to take advantage of this real-time payment opportunity, see what it entails, get involved. There will be e-commerce functionalities coming on board very soon, so you will be able to pay for goods digitally, online via their online websites, and cross-border transactions, transmitting funds to your friends and family at zero cost. I cannot explain any further what the beauty is in doing that. And with that, I would like to say thank you and definitely invite our other speakers on here to share their experience, their DCash journey, our bankers who have been a very significant partner and tremendous value to deploying this initiative within the ECCU. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiran. That was a very comprehensive explanation of how DCash will work. Very exciting. It's going to be cheaper, safer, more convenient. And I think that's very appealing as we move to a digitized economy. So get ready. We're moving towards less cash, more digital solutions. I'd like to move on to our next speaker. She is Samantha Anthony Gore, and she is the Banking Applications Officer at ECAB, right here in Antigua and Barbuda. She is responsible for ensuring that new and existing banking applications consistently meet and maintain a high level of compliance. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Samantha Anthony Gore.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this seminar where we will discuss DCash, the future of money. ECCB officially launched DCash to the public on March 31st, 2021. Today, we will discuss the role of the financial institutions within the ECCU and the role they have played in the implementation of DCash. We will address the following questions. What was the financial institution role prior to the official launch of DCash? What is the role of the financial institution now that DCash has launched to the public? What are the pros and cons of DCash? And how can one register to participate in the pilot of DCash? Permit me to share my screen. What has been the role of the financial institution for DCash? Prior to the official public launch of DCash, licensed bank and non-bank financial institutions in the ECCU had to conduct the following: testing and training. We had to perform several rounds of user acceptance testings of the application and provided feedback. Software application training, not only for financial institution, for our financial institution platforms, but also for the consumer and merchant apps. So yes, we had to do an all-around testing. We also had to do a risk assessment. Like ECCB, assessments were conducted to analyze and evaluate the use of digital currency. Another feature we had to conduct before the prior launch to the public, we had to submit a marketing campaign plan. We had to raise awareness and garner interest into this whole new initiative. We had to identify and enable customer feedback and query channels. After the launch of DCash, licensed banks and non-banks financial institutions in the ECCU are also responsible for service assurance. The financial institutions are who the customer sees, who they interact with. Consumers and merchants can contact the bank if they require assistance as it relates to registering for DCash, making and receiving payments. The financial institutions also assist individuals if they are experiencing common troubleshooting errors, such as inability in signing up to the app or unable to make a payment. For customers to be able to transfer DCash currency, the financial institution must first acquire DCash from ECCB. Once that is done, we're able to distribute DCash to their customers on demand. Customers has the ability to redeem DCash for physical cash at participating merchants or transfer it to an account balance at their financial institution. Another key role for the financial institution is transaction monitoring. This monitoring will give financial institutions and law enforcement more transparency in the movement of money which is not possible for physical cash transaction. You may ask, what are the benefits of DCash? The introduction of DCash offers a range of benefits to the citizens and residents of the ECCU. As Kieran mentioned, DCash is faster, cheaper, safer payment option to physical cash and other payment channels. It's faster, simple steps and easy to use interfaces. You can send and receive payments in real time. Trust me, no need to wait on a check to clear. At present, settlement of checks can occur up to 2 days. Similar to a wire transfer, you have to wait at least 3 days for it to be deposited to your account. The ability to send money to your friends, family, or even make a payment to a business once you have access to a DCash wallet, whether it's locally or within the ECCU. It's safer. Give me a second. Unlike physical cash, digital cash cannot be lost or stolen. Less physical cash significantly reduces the risk of loss by robbery or theft. Contactless method of payment. With the ongoing pandemic, where physical and social distancing are required, there is no required touching or other individuals or foreign objects. ECCB has been careful to observe and incorporate industry standards and best practices as it relates to cybersecurity. It provides a secure and safe platform to facilitate your DCash storage and transaction. In other words, privacy and confidentiality of all your transaction information was given great care and attention. The big one, it's cheaper. Significant reduction in the cost of financial transaction. There are no hidden fees or charges for using DCash. Coming from a banker, I know for conducting a financial wire transfer, the cost can go up as high as $150. But DCash, for the pilot, it is free. It also caters to users who do not have a bank account. So no need to worry. You don't have to contact a bank to make an appointment so that you can open a bank account. So the average Joe on the street, a street vendor, or I just want to get some coconut water. There's no need, if it is you don't have a bank account, no need to worry about that. Also, there's no minimum balance required to maintain your DCash account. There's no minimum spending amount, as in the case of some card payments product. There are no minimum spending amount, as in the case of some card payment products. Another key benefit, money management. It has the ability to track expenditure. It provides real-time access to personal transaction records and financial reports. Another big benefit for DCash. I know a lot of persons have been asking, they have been contacting the bank trying to figure out how would this replace physical cash. As Kieran mentioned, DCash will not replace physical EC cash. It will operate alongside physical cash and other payment platforms. It is an additional payment and transfer option that can be used within the ECCU. You're able to convert DCash to and from your bank account or physical cash. With the cash in or cash out service, you can convert your DCash back to cash at participating merchants and or approved service providers, or credit your account at your financial institution. Although DCash has a tremendous number of benefits, we must also educate the public on the cons. You must have internet connection. The DCash application transmits all transactions details via the internet. I know with this ongoing pandemic, a lot of individuals are not working. So it's maybe difficult for them to get access to data, for them to access the internet. So that is a major downside for accessing your DCash wallet. Another disadvantage, the application is only available on a smart device, whether it be your phone or your tablet. Currently, there's no web application available. However, it is planned for future deployment. Also, it is not integrated with your current debit or credit cards or other international payment platforms outside of the ECCU. There is no debit or credit card integrations. Overseas payments are only possible if both parties are eligible for a DCash wallet. Another big question, do I get any savings? Do I get any interest? Just like any other forms of cash, interest is not applied to DCash. It's non-interest bearing. Okay, I've gathered all my information. I've seen the advantages and disadvantages of DCash. How do I apply for DCash? To access DCash, one must sign up and register for a digital wallet account. Individuals must download the app to their mobile devices from the app stores. The DCash wallet gives you two choices on how to sign up and register for an account. In both cases, one will need to supply basic information or documents to meet the requirement. And basic information such as your name, your email address, your phone number, your date of birth, your country of birth, and an account number. No account number, no bank account, no need to worry. That's not a problem. For individuals who do not have a bank account at any financial institution, you can register without a code. All that is required to register is a government-issued photo ID and a valid email address. However, if you do have a bank account, it is recommended that you register with a code. So what you'll have to do is contact your financial institution, let them know that you're interested in participating in DCash. They will then issue you a code for you to then register. Once you have that code, you will then download the app and register, providing your details along with that code. Once that registration process is completed, the information will be sent to the financial institution for them to verify the information submitted. They will do a simple KYC, verify that yes, Samantha did request a code and that Samantha did submit the registration, their information with that code provided. Only until your application has been reviewed and accepted, you'll be able to access your DCash wallet. Thus far, the interest of DCash locally has been high, both from consumers and merchants. The general public has been curious about the use of DCash or just any form of digital currency. Their main concerns were, is it safe? How much does it cost? Do I save? How does cash fit in? What are the benefits to the average Joe? How do I learn more about DCash? Who are the merchants? Currently, ECAB continues to work with merchants to assist in strengthening the DCash acceptance network. I know it's moving a little bit slow right now, trying to get merchants boarded to the platform, but it's moving slowly, but we're getting there. So far for ECAB, we have about, I think 8 merchants who have registered and are using DCash. Overall, within Antigua, we do have about, I think, about 15 merchants who are participating in DCash. So it is moving a little slower than what we expected. However, as time goes on and the information goes out there to the customers, to merchants, we would strengthen the DCash network. If it is that you want additional information you want to learn more about DCash, for additional information about DCash, you can contact a participating financial institution, or you can visit the official DCAB website, which is www.dcashec.com, or you can visit the ECCB website, which is www.eccb-centralbank.org, or you can visit the social media pages, Facebook or Instagram. All these platforms provide tutorials or any Q&As, any information that you're looking for, you can access them, or you can contact your financial institution and they'll be able to assist you, provide any guidance as to what DCash is all about. And I want to thank you for being a part of this webinar. As we continue with DCash, we will provide some additional information. As I said, you can contact a participating financial institution.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samantha, for your detailed presentation. We really appreciate all of the details. Persons in Antigua and Barbuda can definitely check out ECAB to get more information. And it's good to hear that we have some vendors already in the network who are participating. So I would like at this point to invite our next speaker, Mr. Omari Frederick. And Omari is the Senior Marketing Manager and Marketing and Corporate Communications at the Bank of St. Lucia Limited, a post that he's held since September 2019. Omari has more than 20 years of experience in the field of banking and financial services. So it is my distinct pleasure to invite Omari Frederick to make his presentation about DCash.
Pleasant good evening to our participants, of course my co-panelists, our moderator and host. On behalf of Bank of St. Lucia, it is my esteemed pleasure to participate in this panel discussion regarding DCash, the benefits, implications, and the way forward. I particularly look forward to the engagement with you in the Q&A segment at the end of today's proceedings. So without further ado, permit me to share my screen and we'll get into the subject matter at hand, of course, which is DCash. Right, confirming that you can see my screen. Great. DCash, digital currency versus the mighty dollar. Of course, special thanks to the previous contributors. Indulge me if you may, I will be presenting on a few topics that were presented to you prior, but it's important that we have a bit of a recap in terms of what is happening with the DCash itself, what DCash means for the economy, some of the key benefits of DCash, and of course, some of the key hurdles that we're facing in the local context as well as the wider ECCU. And we'll talk about the way forward and what is required for us to really look at mass adoption of the DCash platform as we press ahead. But before I continue with my presentation, I of course have to extend kudos on behalf of Bank of St. Lucia and the wider St. Lucia family to the ECCB for blazing the trail with DCash digital currency. As it was put, DCash is a milestone in the history of monetary instruments, the first central bank-backed, blockchain-based digital currency. This is significant on a global scale, so much so that we're seeing a number of other international central banks commissioning this very process to explore central bank-backed digital currencies as well. So we're looking at a full transformation across the globe in terms of the move towards digital currency. But of course, a bit of a recap first on the objectives of DCash, and of course, the purpose of the pilot that we're on right now. And it's of course to assess the potential efficiency and the welfare gains that can be achieved from deeper financial inclusion, economic growth, and of course, resilience and competitiveness in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. I want to focus a bit on financial inclusion. And for those of you on this panel this evening who are not aware of what financial inclusion is, financial inclusion really looks at giving equal opportunities of the unbanked, so to speak, to financial services. And of course, DCash is one of the major imperatives in this regard to really close that gap between the bank and unbanked, ensuring that persons are equipped with the correct tools that are required to conduct their day-to-day operations. Let's talk a bit about what DCash is. DCash, as I would have mentioned before, is the digital version of the Eastern Caribbean dollar. It is legal tender. It's backed by the ECCB and it has fixed value. What DCash is not a cryptocurrency. It is important to make that delineation very clearly. Of course, DCash is intended to address a couple of things: the perceived high cost of the current payment methods and of banking services, to meet the shortfall of banking services, to meet customers' needs. And I would have mentioned the unbanked when I was speaking about the financial inclusion. So it really looks at pulling people into the financial system. And of course, the inefficient methods of settling check transactions, DCash seeks to address this. And I know quite a few of you on this call, including my co-panelists, would have had the experience in the past of writing checks and having to wait quite a couple of days, a few days, some extended days in getting that check cleared. So DCash is instantaneous in this regard and really removes the barrier of time with respect to conducting these transactions. And of course, DCash is also seeking to address the high costs associated with select banking services. We're aware of how much it costs, for example, for a wire transfer and the remittance of payments. Of course, DCash is a critical vehicle in this regard to really look at the transferring of money on a digital platform that's instantaneous. And as the previous presenters would have alluded to, safer, faster, and cheaper. While on that topic, I'll now roll into some of the key benefits of DCash. I would have mentioned faster. We're looking at an acceleration of payments. And as we progress in terms of a wider adoption of this digital platform across the ECC, we're going to look at increased transaction volumes. Of course, this is because of the simplification of the platform, how easy it is to conduct these transactions. Payments and transfers are cheaper. You'd have heard the presentation made by the ECCB representative earlier. There are no hidden fees. There's no cost being transferred to the customer in conducting these transactions. It's transparent and reliable. There's sound reporting in there and tracking of transactions that take place on this platform. A very simple to use interface. And of course, that was built on the whole premise again of financial inclusion, really making it easy to conduct digital transactions. And of course, given the current realities that we're facing now with COVID and the impact in our different jurisdictions, it offers a contactless, safer solution. So it really reduces and mitigates having to exchange cash from hand to hand. So the simple question, and I would have thanked my friend Samantha, who would have been presented before me, who already spoke about how to sign up, but just a bit of a recap. There's two types of wallets, which is the register-based wallet as well as the value-based wallet. The register-based wallet, of course, is with your financial institution, your participating financial institution. You simply email or contact your financial institution indicating your interest that you wish to participate in DCash pilot. From there, your information will be reviewed, and this is a clarion call again for all customers of banks, participating banks who want to take advantage of DCash. Please ensure that your customer information is up to date. If you have a renewed ID, if your address has changed, ensure you contact your financial institution, use the appropriate channels and update that information on an ongoing basis. That will make the DCash registration application process relatively seamless. Once you go through that process, it's relatively simple. You'll receive an invitation email or communication from your bank inviting you to download the app. In that invitation, you receive a unique code which is specific to your financial institution. You use that in the app to register your wallet. And of course, your information will be then verified on the back end, as we say. And then again, that will make it a lot easier, and you'll be on your way to conducting your DCash transactions thereafter. Some institutions also give the customers the ability to transfer funds from their bank accounts to their DCash wallet using online banking services. And in addition to that, on the flip side, where we're speaking about the value-based wallets, you don't necessarily have to be a bank customer to participate. You simply download the app on your phone, register accordingly, and you can seek to top up your DCash wallet by visiting any of the participating agents in the system, and that would of course differ depending on what country you reside in. So again, you know, it's a very easy sign-up process. The onus is on the customer, of course, to ensure that your information is up to date. So I'm going to chat a bit about the experience on the ground in St. Lucia, just to give you some sense of what has been happening. We're one of the first institutions to sign up for the DCash pilot, and we're very excited to do so because, again, Bank of St. Lucia believes strongly in really creating innovative solutions to make banking and everyday transacting easier for customers. Our engagement with our customers began on the 1st of April, the day after the grand launch across the region. We were central to the mobilization efforts on the ground. We provide our customers with quite a bit of information and education in terms of how to access DCash and what it means. But I'll get to that part a little further in my presentation this evening. The onboarding process, as I would have alluded to in my previous slides, is relatively simple and seamless, and it's very easy to participate. To date, there's been a very high level of interest indicated by customers, but at the same time, there's also an equal level of hesitation, as we know, because again, this deals with conducting transactions on a new digital platform. And again, that requires a bit of a shift from what we're comfortable with. So that requires us to bridge that gap. And the key way to bridge that gap is to provide information that empowers customers and consumers to make sound financial decisions, and that will apply in this situation. I'll touch on that a little bit as we proceed ahead with my presentation. So let's talk just a bit about the shift towards the digital currency. In terms of the impetus, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, as the previous presenter would have spoken to, hopes to see the use of physical cash fall by 50 to 60% within the next 5 years by 2025. Ambitious, yes. Possible, yes. But here's the reality. The reality is currently at least 80% of our everyday payments use either cash or checks. So DCash is a vehicle that seeks to invert this equation and really move towards a digital economy. The very real reality is that naturally there's a long-standing resistance, and I can speak in the St. Lucia context, and I'm quite sure, and I'll go out on a limb and say that the context is similar in other countries within the ECCU, where there's a resistance to transacting business on a digital space. There's a bit of an information of Bank of St. Lucia. We conducted an assessment, for example, on the transactions that have taken place during the onset of COVID, and over a period of time within the 2020 period. And what we found was that there was a spike in terms of the usage of ATM services. There was a spike in the usage of debit and credit cards. There was also a spike in the usage of online and mobile banking. But what was pretty peculiar was the fact that over-the-counter transactions, visiting your branch to conduct transactions, also increased slightly, and that was a bit concerning. But the need here was more psychological than financial, because we found that a number of customers just preferred to have that face-to-face interaction. Because again, what we have been through in terms of managing the crisis with COVID-19, really getting to a point where there were lockdowns, new protocols in place, people wanted to feel that warmth of a person-to-person interaction. So now the onus is on the financial institutions and the participating partners to really find means of educating customers, building their confidence, and really providing them with solutions that really give them safer, cheaper, and faster means of conducting their day-to-day transactions. And of course, DCash is a necessary vehicle in this regard. So again, COVID-19 has forced a number of changes in the marketplace over the last year. We've seen that the banks and financial institutions have, of course, accelerated their efforts towards digitization. More banks are offering online opening of accounts. They're offering registration online, applications online, to give customers that flexibility to reduce and mitigate them having to come in the branch, specifically with what is happening with COVID-19. In addition to that, we're also seeing on the flip side, more customers are beginning to slowly adopt digital solutions, because we had a period where commercial banks were literally closed during the pandemic. And unless you had a debit card, an ATM card, and online banking, you do not have access to any funds whatsoever. You end up with the short end of the stick. So slowly but surely, the concept of digital solutions has been pushed front and center into the consciousness of people. And now it is up to us through financial literacy to really bridge that gap and maximize this opportunity for this digital thrust. There are, however, some hurdles to overcome. And of course, the number one hurdle, of course, is winning over the public and really allaying the customer concerns about adopting the technology. We know that there's a lofty goal in terms of reducing the use of cash, the physical cash, but the mainstream adoption of DCash is a bit of a way off. The previous presenter would have spoken to the fact that the uptake of DCash is not where they want it to be yet. And of course, from our vantage point, the key to ensuring that there is this high level of adoption in the marketplace is to ensure that there's a strong coordinated effort that is required for it to really take root. So we have to be cognizant of some of these barriers to this digital adoption. And some of these may include, but are not limited to, socioeconomic differences. In the solution context, for example, we are a bilingual nation, and we have persons in the rural areas in particular who speak only Creole. And in order for us to penetrate and to get there and to get them to adopt the service, it requires us to do a bit of, to change our approach in terms of getting the message across. There's also some challenges to the harmonization of legislation. I will not get into that too much. That's outside of my realm of expertise. But there's also the issue of finite resources. You find particularly with indigenous banks in the different jurisdictions that there's finite resources with respect to educating customers. By and large, the indigenous institutions are the gatekeepers of many of the mass market customers, the everyday mom and dad, the everyday customers are members of an indigenous institution. In order for us to bridge that gap and to push and thrust towards that digital modernization, it requires sound education, which requires significant people as well as financial resources to do so. And I'll talk a bit about that in my next slide. And of course, there's just a natural resistance to change. Caribbean people, island people, we feel comfortable in the way we do things. If it's not broken, why fix it, right? If we're comfortable in the way we do things, why change it? But now we have no choice but to change. The global economy is moving towards this. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we need to do what we can to ensure that we're ahead of the curve and the persons within our jurisdiction are equipped to conduct these transactions to make it easier for them to not be left behind. And again, that touches back on the point of financial inclusion, ensuring everybody has equal access to these digital solutions and financial services solutions to ensure that they're able to conduct their day-to-day activities. So where do we go from here? We must traverse, of course, on the road to financial literacy. A cultural shift is required. I would have spoken a bit about the increase in over-the-counter transactions. By and large, the penetration of convenience services across the board is relatively low, as evidenced by the 80% cash and check reliance for day-to-day transactions. We're not where we need to be in terms of technological maturity, and that has to be addressed. How do we do that? We do that by means of a holistic, coordinated approach towards financial literacy. We need to build our customer confidence, build your confidence in our digital platforms, bolster financial knowledge, empower you to make sound financial decisions, actively address your concerns regarding cost, cybersecurity, and what have you. And of course, simplify the means of doing business and making it affordable for all. But this requires a multi-channel approach. This, of course, is a digital solution available on a smartphone. Financial literacy efforts have been ongoing, specifically through TV, radio, as well, of course, social media and digital channels. But it also requires that we must meet our publics, meet our people where they are. We must pound the pavement. We must get out there. We must meet them where they are. In earlier articles and online discussion, we spoke about the need to really bring in farmers and fishers and to target the different sectors of our economy. In order to do so, it requires significant investments and significant efforts in getting to those folks and really building their confidence in this platform. Can it be done? Definitely so. So as we look ahead, we need to see greater engagement with, of course, central bank participating financial institutions, the bankers the bankers associations. We have to ensure that what we communicate to our customers is consistent. There's a consistent level of education that is ongoing to really build that confidence and trust in the platform, to really maximize on the opportunity to spur these migration efforts to digital platform. As would have mentioned before, the movement towards digital currency and the drastic movement, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And DCash for us represents a cheaper, safer, faster alternative and a strong vehicle to thrust in that direction. So with these few words, I bring my presentation to an end, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you. I look forward to engaging you further at the question and answer segment later this evening. Thank you very much.
That was an exceptionally comprehensive presentation by Mr. Frederick. And of course, it's all about financial literacy. We have so much work to be done to fill the knowledge gaps. We recognize that it will take, as he said, a lot of resources, both people resources, in-person resources, as well, of course, as well as financial resources. And at SFCG, as we say, everyone needs financial literacy. Remember that chorus that we sang in Sunday school, everybody ought to know? That's why we're here. We want to bring you all of the tools, the tips, the education, so that we can improve financial literacy, not just in Antigua and Barbuda, but throughout the Caribbean. Well, I see our next speaker is ready to go. We have the CEO of SamuelFields Consulting, Mistress Megan SamuelFields, who will tell us about her involvement and how SFCG can provide assistance to all of you who have questions and who have concerns. Take it away, Ms. Fields.
Thank you, Doreed. And thank you, Samantha, Kieran, and Omari. What a wealth of information you shared. I really, really appreciate all that you have shared, and I've learned a lot. Clearly, we have lots of knowledge gaps, and we need to be empowered when it comes to DCash. But as with anything new, we may have our trepidations, we may have our fears, we may have our concerns, but let us look at the possibilities and opportunities that DCash can bring. You've heard at least two of the panelists speak about financial inclusion. And this is really an effort to make everyday financial services available to more people at a reasonable cost. And DCash will allow all consumers and businesses to have this type of access. There is also the opportunity for growth. And as businesses, growth is what we all strive for. It's our ideal. DCash opens the door of possibilities for growth in many areas, whether it's in attracting more customers or being able to access your cash for payments to suppliers. More growth is possible with DCash. Competitiveness. We need to have the competitive edge. We all strive to be competitive in business. We want our product or service to be able to stand out among the other competitors. And DCash will allow you that opportunity to be more competitive. Resilience. We've all gone through a year of COVID. Our business resilience was put to the test. We have had to adapt and make changes. DCash will allow us to be more resilient by having ready access to our cash when there's a crisis. Our business continuity, which is the ability for our businesses to adapt and respond to all types of risks, whether it's natural disasters, pandemics, supply chain disruptions, among others, we will also benefit from DCash. So the question is, are you ready for DCash? Are you, as a consumer or a business owner, ready for DCash and the opportunities it may bring? And I just have these 8 points or questions really to ask you, for you to think about. 1, take stock of your situation. This be the opportunity for you to be ready for increased growth and competition. Now is the time to look at your business with fresh eyes. It might be time for an operational audit of your business to be conducted to determine if you are indeed ready for competition and for growth. An operational audit is the process of evaluating a company's operating activities, both on a day-to-day level and on a broader scale, with the aim of increasing overall effectiveness and efficiency of a company's internal processes. Is your business properly structured? Is it registered? There are different ways to structure your business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, partnership, or limited liability. Which one is best for your company or for your business? You would have to speak with your accountant and your attorney to get the proper guidance. Is your business registered? It would need to be registered with the company's registry as well as Inland Revenue. What about your statutory obligations? Are you aware of what your statutory obligations are? Are you up to date with them? Are you aware, are you registered for unincorporated business tax or for corporate taxes? These are all questions that you need to think about and ensure that you are on top of these things. You have a business plan, written document that describes in detail how your business defines its objectives, and also a roadmap to achieve your business's financial and operational goals. A business plan connects the dots in your business so that you get a complete picture of your entire operations. What about your accounting system? How's your record keeping? Whether it's manual or using a computer software, an accounting system is key to ensuring you're capturing all your revenues and expenses. So how do you keep track of your business activities? Don't wait until you have to go to the bank to seek financing or when Inland Revenue comes calling to then try and get your accounts in order. Get a proper accounting system set up in anticipation for the growth you expect to see. For larger businesses, have you reviewed your policies and procedures recently to ensure you're up to date with regulations, technology, and industry best standards or best practices? In preparation for growth and competition, it is always a good thing to review your existing policies and procedures. Do they need to be revamped due to new industry standards or improved technological advancements? Consider a financial advisor or coach. A financial advisor or coach can assist you, whether you're an individual or your business. This coach will assist you in setting your financial targets so that your goals can be achieved. Finally, I would say to you, take action today. Take a little step, or as we say at SamuelFields Consulting Group, just do it little by little. One step each day, and you can get closer to your anticipated growth and your expected competition. SamuelFields Consulting Group, we have a wide range of services. We have accounting and financial services, receivership, bankruptcy and insolvency, legal services, business restructuring, strategic planning and policy development, financial management, and legacy protection services. And as we had indicated on our previous webinar, you know about our little by little financial action plans. And these are plans to assist you in your financial wellness. You have the little plan, little bit plan, little more plan, and the little but tallower plan. All this information you can get on our website, www.samuelfieldsconsulting.com, or you can send us an email at info@samuelfieldsconsulting.com. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very comprehensive. Folks, we're getting ready to post our final poll It will take about a minute or so. In the meantime, I know we have lots of questions that have been coming in. We will devote the next 15 to 20 minutes to try to address as many questions as possible. So keep the questions coming. We love the questions. We're already actively getting some of our panelists to respond to you. So we will try to look at some of the questions that seem to be most popular. So we're going to post our final poll. And the question is, based on the information presented today, how likely are you to use DCash? Would you say that you're not likely, somewhat likely, you're unsure, I need more information, or very likely? Please take a moment to complete the survey, and then we will dive directly into our questions. And of course, we want to thank all of you who have joined us here today for your participation. This has been a masterclass that we're trying to cover here today. And we really, really appreciate the level of interest. We have well over 100 participants who have joined us, and it just tells us people are ready for the change. It's coming little by little. It's good. They're telling us that the projections are looking for this transition to happen over a 5-year period. So little by little we go, and hopefully you will reach out to the various panelists, your institutions, to get updated on the how you can begin to use DCash, learn more about the benefits. It's great to hear that it will not totally replace cash, but in the time of COVID, we're all looking for more contactless solutions. So this is very timely. I see the poll is in progress, and the poll is in. I see that 3% are saying not likely to use it. 33% somewhat likely. 15% are saying, listen, I need more information. That's understandable. But almost 50% are saying that they're very likely to use it. And that's very good information and a great finding. So folks, let's get directly into the question. Wow, we have so many questions. We will see how we can get to some of them. Martha Petty, she wants to know, what are the restrictions with large payments made with DCash? How is source of funds addressed? Let's see. Let's see if Samantha can answer that. Are there any restrictions with large payments made with DCash, and how is source of funds being addressed?
Yes, thank you for that question. Yes, there are restrictions with large payments. For the launch of DCash, there are 3 levels for transaction limits. For level 1, there is a limit of $3,000. There's also a level for level 2, there's a limit of $5,000. And for level 3, there's a limit of $20,000. And these are for consumers. So once it is that you're signing up with your bank, you'll have that discussion, and then they will give you the various levels that you will be entered into. Also for merchants, your limit would be ranging from $25,000 right up to $3,000. So there is a limit for transferring DCash.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think the next one we're going to have Omari answer it. Hang on, let me get these questions going. Okay. Okay, Omari, we have a question for you. And the question we have, it's from Eves Ephraim, and he wants to know, if DCash is an alternative to ECCash, I do not fathom how DCash can be more private than anonymous cash. It is not private if a third party can see one's transactions, and it does not matter if it is a bank. Let me try to address that. Let me try to read that again. I see that Kiran looks like she was trying to answer, but help us out here, Omari. Again, let me go through the question. Eves Ephraim wants to know, if DCash is an alternative to ECCash, I do not fathom how DCash can be more private than anonymous cash. It is not private if the third party can see your transactions. Can you help us out with that, Omari?
I can make an educated attempt. As was alluded to prior, and that's one of my favorite words, alluded. The previous presenter would have said that DCash is not intended to replace cash, and there will always be a place for cash in the system. But at the end of the day, it also goes back to legitimacy of transactions. Cash offers itself as a payment medium, but it also opens up a certain level of risk in terms of what this cash is actually used for. Banks do have systems in place, of course, to monitor these types of transactions and to ensure that its customers are not engaged in nefarious activities or suspicious activities of the sort. So DCash primarily is an extension of the existing facilities being offered by banks, but it will still always be a place for cash. I'm not sure if I really understood the question of the participant, but I hope I did some justice in attempting to answer it. But there is a level of privacy in the sense that you do sign a confidentiality arrangement with your bank, and banks are built on the premise of confidentiality and trust. So at the end of the day, the relationship you do have with your banker is built on those two principles where privacy is of the utmost importance. So I hope that answers the question effectively. But permit me also to attempt to support the question that was being answered by Kieran. So the debit card is literally plastic. You use your debit card to pay for transactions, as was said by Kieran prior. You can also use your debit card number as the basis to use a number of these payment apps. The DCash wallet in itself does not require any debit card, any credit card whatsoever. It's literally a digital wallet. It's literally a digital version of cash. So you basically have two options. If you're registered with a bank, for example, at any time you can transfer money from your bank account to your DCash wallet and vice versa, and use your DCash wallet to make payments. All right, so I hope that can help to clarify the question that the customer has. It's an entirely different vehicle that does not require any level of plastic whatsoever to initiate transactions and transfers. Hope that helps.
Okay, great. And again, of course, I remind our... Yes, go right ahead, Kieran.
Sorry, Dirty, and sorry all. I hope it's all better now.
Yes, you sound great.
Omari, certainly thank you for taking on that question in terms of the difference between the debit card and the DCash, in terms of what is the system like and how it is facilitated. As well, just to add to that, DCash is an enhanced payment option. With DCash, you do not get any fees levied. It is a pilot that we're running, and during the pilot, there are no fees attached for doing DCash. And based on some other questions which were submitted before, and I did answer, ECCB embarked on this project for some key reasons. We noted there are several frictions within the financial system, one of which is the cost of transacting. And for that, ECCB has built this infrastructure to enable access, to widen access and put power in the hands of every citizen to be able to transact freely, to conduct their business and do more or less be able to manage their finances a lot better. So you have an ability to drive your costs down. Why not use it? And it is an option alongside other payment options. And Omari would have hinted at that during his presentation in terms of the use of physical checks and cash, which is like 80%. And ECCB's vision is to reduce the use of cash, because providing cash throughout the 8 island member states does come at a cost. And persons are not really aware of where they do incur those fees for maintaining bank accounts, the fees that are passed indirectly for different banking services. They add up and do come back to some of that is related to the cost of distributing cash across the islands. The banks would pass on that cost to customers as well in terms of fees. And to address the question from Mr. Ephraim, which I did answer in the chat, but what I'd like to say is the in terms of privacy and anonymity, both cash options carry a certain level of anonymity. And I went on to explain how that is facilitated by the DCash system, right? We know that we've mentioned that the data is transmitted by an encrypted channel at rest and when it's being transmitted. So that provides a certain level of coding that Yes, currently, if you do have an account with your bank, they can access your transaction data. If you do transfers through them, they will know the other party to that transaction. With the DCash, we know that you are able to do peer-to-peer, person-to-person transaction where the bank is not involved. So there are transactions you will use your DCash wallet for. You could fund your DCash wallet by tapping into your savings account, asking your bank to debit your savings account and credit your DCash to top up your wallet. You take that cash now and you're paying for goods to Mr. Tom. The bank is not involved in that leg of any transaction where you're transacting directly with a merchant or a family or friend. That data is encrypted. And in terms of being able to access that data, the storage of that data, what I can say, we encourage persons to secure their passwords, their mobile devices. You cannot be negligible with that. You should protect your data. In terms of storage and how ECCB secures that data, I would have mentioned that we do penetration testing, security audits. We have guidelines for personal identifiable data and third parties where we may choose to store that data. That data, if I were to access that data, I will not be able to read what it is. I will not see that Kieran bought bread from Mr. Tom. That data is coded. The amount of the transaction, certain aspects of a transaction, a financial institution will be able to see how frequently you're transacting, how many payments you're making. This sort of thing we're able to investigate, or I should say, go into the data, and if we need to. So if there is a investigation going on, similar to what pertains now, if a financial institution has cause to request data either via court order, that data can be retrieved and verified in that sense. So to say that persons can easily view that you spent $10 at the supermarket buying bread and cheese, nobody would be able to get that sort of detail to your transaction. Only the other party of that transaction will know what the transaction entailed. And what I also should mention, when you're transacting with your merchant, the merchant will, everything is coded, your QR code. So in terms of them knowing that it was Tom Johnson who made that $2,000 grocery purchase, they will not see Tom Johnson. Your identity is a unique coded identity that will be next to that transaction. But as we said, if we need to verify any information or look into a transaction via a court order or request, which is what is going on currently in the financial system, that data can be retrieved if needed. So I hope this gives some level of assurance in terms of the privacy of your data and the consumer's responsibility in ensuring that that data is maintained and is private.
Okay, great. And another question that we have in the same vein is, if there is a dispute over a purchase, can a payment be reversed? If there is a dispute over a purchase, can a payment be reversed? And this is Ephraim once again.
Oh, hi, great question, Eve. Thanks for that question. How should I frame it? I would like to frame it in a very clear manner, in that the blockchain, the underlying technology that we're using is permission-based. One, that's another privacy added feature for privacy. In terms of the reversal of transactions, blockchain does not allow the reversibility. Transactions are irreversible on a blockchain. And if there is a dispute as currently pertains, the parties to the transaction would have to agree and settle. That would require an adjusting or contra entry. So say, for instance, I am paying Mr. Jones and the money I accidentally put in the wrong code, QR code, and I'm now sending the money to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith receives that money, but I mean, he didn't know it was supposed to go to Mr. Jones. It would need that person, I would have to, as the consumer, reach out to that person to ask for that to be resent. And of course, this can be facilitated. You report that you end up paying the wrong person for your financial institution or your agent you onboarded to, and we can help in sort of mediating in that process. Now, if you were to send an extra 1,000, let's say you wanted to send 100 and you remitted $1,000 in payment, then you would have to do a contra entry to adjust and to bring back fairness or equity to that transaction. The parties involved would have to do that.
Okay, here's another question, and I will direct this to Samantha. As it relates to no minimum spending, it is usually the retailers who impose those limits to avoid credit card machine fees. Does this mean that retailers also will not have to pay a fee for DCash, which in turn is put onto the spenders? Let me repeat that. This is from Joy Henry Goodwin. And it says, as it relates to no minimum spending, it is usually the retailers who impose those limits to avoid credit card machine fees. Does this mean that retailers also will not have to pay a fee for DCash, which in turn is put onto the spenders?
All right, great question. There are rental charges for POS machines. In turn, retailers may transfer the cost to consumers. However, with DCash, there are no fees. Therefore, retailers are not required to charge put any additional costs onto the consumers. So with DCash, there are no fees.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Let's see. We'll try to take a few more questions. Thank you for that. Samantha, there is someone who wants to know, Ronique wants to know, any major difference between DCash versus a regular transfer via online banking? Now, most online banking has similar P2P options, no transfer cost either. So they want to know, Ronique wants to know, any major difference between DCash versus a regular transfer via online banking? Because most online banking has similar P2P options with no transfer costs. Omari, do you want to take that question?
Of course, and I'll also invite my co-panelists to jump in as well. That's a good question. In terms of the P2P transfers, I can speak from our context here. The online transfers done between our customers comes at no cost. However, if you opt to transfer to another bank's customers within St. Lucia, there's a fee levied on that. And the same would apply for transferring funds to other banks outside. Now, during the launch of DCash, you would have seen, for those of you who participated in that launch, you would have seen that they were able to transfer $100 across all of the participating islands. And that's the beauty of the P2P transfer. Once you're within the system, DCash, and you have a registered account, you are able to transfer funds at no cost, not only to members of your bank if you are a registered wallet holder, but you can transfer to any other user of DCash. And my other co-panelists can also jump on. So it broadens the spectrum with which you can transfer. And of course, as our previous presenters would have said, there's no hidden fees. There's no fees attached to doing so. So it actually opens up the pool even wider to do that. Hope that answers the question sufficiently.
Let's get to another question very quickly. I want to accommodate as many questions as possible. We have Rashane Cunningham, and Rashane's question is, outside of the banks and credit unions, who are these authorized merchants who can facilitate registering for the DCash wallet, considering the AML-KYC requirements? Again, the question is, outside of the banks and credit unions, who are these authorized merchants who can facilitate registering for the DCash wallet, considering the AML and KYC requirements?
Aside from financial institutions, we have in Antigua, we have the St. John's Cooperative Credit Union. Merchants are not involved in onboarding customers. Only authorized agents, and those agents are actually licensed agents to do so, most of them under the Money Services Act in the respective jurisdictions. So merchants facilitate cash in, cash out, and that is optional, where persons with non-bank linked DCash digital wallets where you do not register with a bank, but you choose to register with an agent, and any type of digital wallet that you have. If you want to go to a merchant and top up your wallet with physical cash, you can, if that merchant is offering the teller function, which we call cash in, cash out services. So for that merchant, there will be, that will be advertised at their place of business, so you're aware that they also provide that cash in, cash out function. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And another question that we have, Ian Ireland wants to know, without having a bank account, can a non-account holder be able to exchange their DCash for physical cash? Now that's interesting. Again, let me repeat, without having a bank account, can a non-account holder be able to exchange their DCash for physical cash?
Hi, can you repeat that?
Without having a bank account, can a non-account holder be able to exchange their DCash for physical cash?
Would Samantha or Omari wish to take this?
Yes, I'll take that. For yes, a non-bank customer, if it is that they wish to transfer physical cash to their DCash wallet or vice versa, they can go to a participating vendor, a merchant, and then that would be a merchant teller. So what they will do is then approach the vendor and let them know that I wanted to transfer physical cash to my DCash wallet. And then the merchant would then transfer from their wallet onto their customer's wallet. So that's how you would do a transfer between your DCash wallet and physical cash. So that must be done at a participating merchant teller. You will not be able to go to a financial institution to do that transfer. So it's only limited to a merchant.
Very interesting. So it works both ways, but it has to be
at the merchant.
Yes. It has to be channeled through a merchant.
And here is where we do recommend that you sign up with a code to basically be able to transfer from your bank account to your DCash wallet. So with a code, you're with a registered financial institution. So you'll be able to transfer from your bank account to your wallet. If it is that you do not sign up with a code, you're not within your finance institution system. So therefore you have to go to a merchant teller to do that transfer.
Very interesting. Now, Josephine St. Pierre wants to know, when the pilot is over with the fees, will the fees apply only to the person receiving the payment or the party making the payment? So she wants to know, Josephine wants to know, when the pilot is over, it sounds like she's trying to say, will the fees apply only to the person receiving the payment and or the party making the payment? What is the fee structure?
Possibly I could.
Go right ahead. Okay, we'll come back to Kieran. Here's another question. When Kieran comes back, we'll address that question. But Omari, here's a question for you. If your phone or tablet is lost or stolen, how does one disable access to the wallet? If your phone or tablet is lost or stolen, how does one disable access to the wallet? And this is from Denise Francis.
That's actually a good question, and I will also defer that to one of my co-panelists. But a couple things I want to mention: your wallet or your smart device. You should also always ensure that you have it adequately encrypted with your own password. One of the key selling features of DCash is that if you do lose your smartphone or device, you're still relatively safe with reference to that, because you already have your own a specific sign-on username and password for your DCash wallet on that machine. So it's not as if they pick up your phone and they'll have instant access to your DCash. But the technical terms with reference to that, I think Kieran would be in a better place to answer that question, because I'm a bit limited in that context. There she is. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead. We can
Megan?
hear you. Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead. I guess she's having problems hearing us.
Yes, guys. Yes, forgive us. Well, it's technology. That's sad. I would have missed the question if you don't mind repeating for me, please.
Let's see if I can find that question. You know, address this question and I will revert to the old question. They're coming in fast and furious. Yes, so let us deal with the question at hand about, I think it was from Denise Francis. She wanted to know if your tablet is lost or your phone is lost, how can you disable your wallet for your safety, obviously?
Once your wallet is lost or your device is lost, you contact your financial institution and that is escalated, and your access and wallet could be restored onto a new device, or when you do have that available. Once you've notified us, we will be able to limit use, and you could have that access restored when you do require, and your funds will be in there.
Okay, great. I'm still trying to find that question. We're clearing the board as we go through, but I'll try to revisit that question. But here's another question. For businesses using DCash, can account statements be generated for the DCash wallet for accounting purposes like they could for a bank account? And Megan, let's have you answer this, because you're going to be dealing a lot with the MSMEs and the small businesses and the vendors. And of course, you're the you're the accountant here, you're a CPA. So tell us, for businesses using DCash, can account statements be generated for your transactions?
Okay, so from my knowledge of DCash, and Kieran, you'll be able to give a bit more detail on this. But one of the beauties that, or the benefits that DCash offers is that every transaction, there'll be a record of it. So for the MSMEs, especially the micro businesses, the smaller businesses, once you use DCash, then there is automatically a record of the transaction that you would have just conducted. So
and this
from
would be electronically, right? And this would be an electronic, right?
So you would have that record. So it then makes it easier for you to make the next step in having your records to take to your accountant, because you would have that somewhere stored. Kieran, you probably can let us know whether there'll be actually a statement. I'm not sure if there'll be a statement in the same format and structure as a bank statement, but there definitely would be a record.
And also, I have a question for me personally. If there is a statement, is it something you can download? So just in case you needed an electronic statement transfer, you know, in a physical format, assuming there is a statement, is it downloadable?
Okay, sure, guys. Thanks for that. What I can say is, remember the use of the digital wallet is for transaction purposes. So it's not as a savings balance. It doesn't acquire any interest. So I know most times person would request, well, on a personal finance note, statements for different purposes. So if it is you need to print your transaction record, certainly the consumer can do that. Customers and merchants do have that functionality. If you're preparing a statement to take to some, like for visa purposes or some form, form of business purpose, having that done by your financial institution, usually such proof of finances or statements require that to be done via your financial institution. Remember, DCash is used for your goods and services and transacting. On a merchant level, they will have their business transaction history there that they can download, and it will form part of their financial records. Similar for persons, individuals, you do have that financial record that you can use for whatever purpose that is fit for use, that you would need to reference that information. So I hope that sheds some light on the question being asked.
And then there's a question from Kelly Hull, and we're going to take 2 more questions after this. because we are approaching 7 o'clock, way beyond the time allotted, but we thank you guys for hanging in here with us. There's so much to learn. Kelly Hull wants to know, don't banks lose money with this DCash as there will be less transaction fees? Again, won't banks lose money as there will be less transaction fees?
Should I take this one or?
Sure, go right ahead.
I welcome Samantha and Omari to shed some light. And what we can see, key to notice that where we're going, where business is going right now, the digital marketplace. And there are banks who would resist, and there are other jurisdictions where in banks which we consider incumbent financial institutions, they're used to doing business a particular way, but you have to remain relevant. Resisting change will not ensure sustainable or business continuity. So in terms of loss of money, DCash, remember, is for transaction purposes, and I guess on the wire transfer end, there will be a reduction in on the operational end as well. Think of the cost that, okay, a clear example would be where banks would have to transmit money, physical cash between their branches. That comes at a cost of security. And now via the DCash application for financial institutions, that can be done at a click of a button, where the treasury, the digital treasury wallet can fund a branch in another community just at the click of a button. That cuts out a lot of costs and overheads for the banks. So that's one clear example of savings. With the rollout of the digital currency system, banks will have that opportunity to help build a digital marketplace where they can leverage the system to add on financial management services. I gave an example during my presentation where if a customer would like an alert for a certain spend amount out of their digital wallet, that is a functionality that may come on board when we do commercialize. For the purposes of the pilot, we are testing some key functionalities, but banks will have the ability to customize and offer different services to their customer base via the DCash system. Lots of add-on financial services that can be brought on. That is the potential that DCash offers.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I'll move to our second to last question. When will we be able to use DCash to transfer funds outside the region, similar to vehicles like TransferWise? And that question was from Heather Brown. Let me repeat it. When will we be able to use DCash to transfer funds outside the region, similar to vehicles like TransferWise?
Thanks for that question. And that also speaks to the potential of central bank digital currencies on a broader scale, because this is, as Omari would have definitely alluded to and highlighted in terms of a watershed moment, of a huge transformational change for our financial system. The pilot is now running within the ECCU. However, there is the functionality that if you have a relative or family who is a citizen of one of the islands, and they can establish a digital wallet via their financial institution at home, they can also set up a DCash wallet and facilitate transfers between parties in that way. Now, if you speak to TransferWise in terms of e-commerce, we are rolling out and testing the e-commerce functionality, but that will be within the ECCU for now. So in terms of on a global, more global commerce scale, one requires other jurisdictions to develop their central bank issued digital currencies as well. It will also require a settlement network, and there's a lot of work going on in that regard. More than 80 central banks and jurisdictions are actually testing and piloting central bank digital currencies, while we are already offering our live DCash digital currency and piloting that. So as more jurisdictions come on board, it is the future. The future of the EC dollar is digital. It is here and now. We certainly see that opportunity arising in the future as it is increased use globally. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. And before we take our final question, I want to remind all of our participants that we will be engaging in further discussions via our Facebook page, SamuelFields Consulting. So we will take the discussion online, and hopefully we will continue to field a few more questions. We have well over 50 questions that came in tonight. And so we're just not in a position to answer everything tonight, but we want to make our panelists available to you and to keep the discussion going. So definitely check out our website. Definitely check out our Facebook page. We also will be having the second edition of our newsletter, where we will be addressing some of these topics. That should be available on Monday. And then if you have not been following our Little by Little daily calendar, we put one out every month, and it has daily tasks to help you on your journey towards financial wellness. So we certainly encourage everyone to participate in that exercise and hopefully make little by little steps towards financial wellness. So our final question tonight is from Josephine St. Pierre, and this is a very interesting question. Can you register through your bank and still be able to top up your account with another service provider? I will pose this to Samantha. I'm saying Samantha.
Yes.
Can you register through your bank and still be able to top up your account with another service provider?
Yes, for individuals who register with a bank, you're able to top up with another service provider, given it's a merchant. You will not be able to top up at another financial institution. Only within your personal financial institution or a merchant, but not another financial institution. No, not at this moment.
I didn't think so. That's who knows what's going to happen in 5 years.
Right.
When
good.
we
That's
really ramp
really
up. Go
good.
right ahead, Kiran.
Good point, Ernie. And this, I have to keep reminding people, it is a pilot. So we've designed it in such a way, and we're monitoring. And these questions do come up. So we are taking note in terms of some of the functionalities that customers are looking for. And the underlying technology, a lot is possible with it. But based on the security features that we're assessing in terms of privacy, shared KYC information, right now, this is not shared across banks. So this is limited within the design of the pilot for now. That may need new regulations to be instituted within the ECCU to facilitate that level of transacting. So it's definitely something that we're taking note of in terms of requirements and questions, and feedback is a gift, as we always say at the ECCB. So we welcome that. Thank you.
Well, we've certainly been gifted here today because the questions keep coming in and we have to revisit this issue. We were here to give you just some tidbits on this emerging trend, but clearly it is a subject that has attracted a lot of attention. And so there are opportunities for us to continue the dialogue. So we hope that we can reconvene at some point and continue the discussions, and hopefully to answer as many questions as possible via our Facebook page. Listen, this has been a great discussion. I want to thank all of our panelists on behalf of SamuelFields Consulting Group. Kiran, thank you so much for such an in-depth, well thought out, detailed presentation. The ECCB is lucky to have you. You did an excellent job providing all of the information that people need to at least get started. I want to say our friends at ECAB should be extremely proud of your of their ambassador and spokesperson here today. Hopefully we'll have a long line at the bank tomorrow with people who want to get started, who want to get set up. So you're going to have your work cut out for you over at ECAB.
Yes, but I just wanted to just jump in one last time here.
Sure, go right
I know
ahead.
there was a question in terms of a list of all the merchants. There is a list on the DCash website, dcashec.com, where it's updated regularly. So if individuals are interested as to who they can actually go and use the DCash. You can select the menu where to use to see all merchants listed by country. So I just wanted to just make that clear for everyone.
Wonderful, Samantha. Thank you. I was looking for that question to respond to it. And I could say in Antigua, they're blazing the trail. We have at least 20 merchants onboarded so far in Antigua.
Okay, great. Is this information we can share to our Facebook page? Because we'd love to be able to provide our participants with an easy way to get that information.
Yes.
So we'll follow up with you to
Yes.
see how we can get that information shared.
Okay.
Mr. Frederick, you brought the marketing message. And so people understand more clearly what some of the risks and rewards are. And you did an excellent job really laying out a proposition, a winning proposition for DCash and why people should use it. So I want to thank you as well, and the folks at your bank in St. Lucia should be extremely proud. You did an excellent job today. To my CEO and boss, Miss Megan SamuelFields, you did an excellent job. Clearly, we were focused more on the banking side, the transactional side of it, but you certainly made it clear that, especially for the MSMEs, they have to be ready to conduct business in a new space. So I think that was very enlightening as well, because yes, there'll be transactions and there's a focus on the consumer side, the banking side, but who's watching the books? Who's counting the money? Who is keeping records? And that's another key aspect of the process that has to be addressed as we make this major paradigm shift. Listen, it's 7 o'clock. People need to get back to their families. People need to have dinner. It's been an amazing discussion, and the dialogue certainly continues. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Be sure, if you have not liked our Facebook page, like our Facebook page. We will continue the discussion online, and hopefully we'll get to answer all of your questions and get everyone ready for DCash. No one left behind. And like we said, everybody ought to know. And that's why we're here at SamuelFields Consulting Group. Have yourselves a great Thursday evening. We look forward to a great weekend, and we will certainly do this again sometime in the near future. Have a nice evening. And again, thank you to everyone.